you so much for coming in and sharing your story with us this morning. And no wonder you were honoured at the Daily Mirror's Pride of Britain Awards last night. And you can see Peter receiving his award on ITV Thursday night, 1st of October, which is this Thursday, from 8 o'clock on ITV. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can have your cup of tea now. If you'd like to share your views on the story you've just heard from Peter, we'd love to hear what you think of that. Many of you getting in touch already, 85058, and we are at BBC 5 Live on social media. Do get in touch. Many of you have also been getting in touch this morning on Lyme disease. In the first hour, we heard very moving testimony from one of Britain's wealthiest men. He's billionaire John Caldwell. His son, for years, was suffering psychotic episodes, anxiety, and then physical problems as well, and has recently had a diagnosis after about 8-9 years of Lyme disease. He's now being diagnosed with it, as is his ex-wife and 2 of his daughters as well. So he's looking into, or trying to nudge the medical community into looking into having tests that are more accessible for people, but also maybe making a connection that it's not just ticks landing on you that can pass on this disease. Maybe there's other ways of it being transmitted as well. So we're asking for your experiences of Lyme disease this morning. Let's speak now to Patricia in Surrey. Morning, Patricia.
Morning.
Okay, so you're living with Lyme disease, aren't you?
Yes, I've had it chronically for 8 years now, neurologically.
Okay, so did you have a diagnosis 8 years ago? Tell us your story.
No, what happened is I'm pretty certain I got bitten just off the Thames in Kingston when I was a university student, and I had the rash on my leg, but no known tick was attached. I think it was a nymph, and I went to my GP. They misdiagnosed it as ringworm. I went to several GPs because fungal cream didn't get rid of the rash, and then I started getting flu-type symptoms. And I started feeling, really worn down. And eventually I was diagnosed a year later as having chronic fatigue, and that was when it went to my brain. And I basically felt drunk and drugged and very unusual. And that's when I then was unable to function. And that has continued now for 7 years.
And you got the diagnosis when exactly?
I got the diagnosis myself. I sent my blood to America and got a Centre of Disease Control positive result, which the NHS refuses to acknowledge. I had no help from my GP in diagnosing that it was Lyme disease. They actually diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome and then as having an ischemic episode of the brain.
So you got the diagnosis. Did you go back to your GP after that and say, here we go, there's the diagnosis?
I did, and I showed them my positive blood results, and they said there's no way that can be a positive. They said it's a false positive or a cross-reaction, which the chance of that happening is less than 5%, and they dismissed my results, sent me to an infectious disease specialist. I had to fight for over a year through the Complaints Commission to get seen by an infectious disease doctor. This infectious disease doctor, I then also had positives from Germany, a lab called Armin Labs, on top of my IGeneX results. And this doctor said, we will not give you any treatment. You've had enough privately, because I've been on antibiotics for 18 months, triple antibiotics. And, they basically wiped their hands of me. They did a C6 ELISA test, which is, they say it's a very high standard of testing. It's not. It's extortionately poor. I think 40 to 50% of people are missed through the NHS testing. And they, completely refused to accept both of my positive foreign results and said, we're going to test you for syphilis instead. It was awful, very traumatic.
And so what now then?
I've had enough treatment privately.
So what now? How are you being? How is it being treated?
I was on antibiotics. I actually recently went in for 2 months. It was 6 weeks worth of intravenous antibiotics because it was so severe in the brain. It's also been affecting my heart and my bladder. It affects every single organ. And, we've had to be doing it ourselves and pretty much try and forget about the NHS because they just make your life harder. And, so now I'm actually treating the disease with herbal antibiotics. It's called the Cowden protocol. And after, I think it was 18 months of pharmaceutical antibiotics, we decided to go down this route as the NHS don't know how to treat it, don't know how to diagnose it, and refuse to accept that it can be the cause of many, many conditions, over 300. So.
Well, listen, thank you so much for getting in touch with the programme, and well, what a thing you've been through. Hopefully by sharing your experience today, Patricia, you have our utmost sympathy for what you've been through over the last 8 years. Good luck with your recovery, and hopefully by sharing your story, it will give other people listening who may have gone through a similar thing some strength to go back to their GP and fight for that test and hopefully get the support that they need. I have to say, we've had this in from a GP, I presume.